150,000 subscribers. That's a lot. And quite frankly, I don't know what to say to that. Like what can I say to that I haven't already said before? Like, I thanked you profusely when I got to 50,000 subscribers, which was about 6 years ago. I didn't do a Q&A for 100,000 subscribers, but I thanked everybody for that too. And now I'm at 150,000, and that's a lot. That's a big milestone, and it's been a long time since I did a Q&A session, so let's do that. You know, just thanks. This channel wouldn't be anything without you. I don't know what to say beyond that, so let's get to the questions. What do you think the next mainstream trend in popular fiction will be? Or does romantasy now have the eternal mandate of heaven? Well, first things first, nothing lasts forever, and I think, unfortunately, that a lot of genres have been kind of hollowed out by romantasy, which is just porn. Like, that's just what it is, and it's dominating bookshelves and stuff a lot, which is just really irritating, and that's one of the main reasons why I dislike it. Like, it can't just be its own thing off over there that I don't have to care about that much. It has to constantly shove itself in my face. And eventually, though, this bubble will burst. You know, like, people will get tired of it and they'll move on to something else. And I think what they're gonna do is just do science fiction, but also just romance. Like, I'm pretty sure they're gonna do that. Like, it'll be exactly the same as romantasy is right now, but instead of elves and fairies being everywhere, well, okay, it's not even elves. It's always fairies being everywhere. They'll be, like, flying in space and stuff. Like, that's gonna be the only difference, I think. Why are you so handsome? I don't know. What's your favorite of the 5 major arcs/sagas of Bleach? And he's referring to Bleach, the manga series, not Bleach, the stuff that you use on your clothes. I don't know. I find it hard to decide on that because the Soul Society arc is great. Like, that's one of the reasons why, or excuse me, the main reason why people loved Bleach so much back in the day. The Arrancar saga, also very good. I feel like that one gets some unnecessary hate, but yeah, I can see the problems with it. And then there's the final arc, the 1,000-Year Blood War, which is also fantastic, and it does end in kind of a shaky way, let's say, but at the same time, it starts off amazingly. Like, if you haven't read Bleach, it's kind of hard to explain to you just how big a deal the beginning of the 1,000-Year Blood War was. Because these new guys that we've never heard of before come in and they start killing major characters who we know are very powerful, and they start just doing all kinds of crazy stuff, and we're going, who are these guys? What do they want? How can we possibly defeat them? And just, it's awesome. So I guess I'll say that one is my favorite. Why not? Did you actually read the entire Bible, Quran, and Book of Mormon for your Bible and Bible sequel book review videos? And if so, which one did you find the most enjoyable to read? So no, I have not read all of those. I have read the entirety of the Bible. Like, I read some of it when I was young, just because my family is moderately religious, let's say. But I never read the entire thing until I was like 18 or maybe 19. And then over the course of like a year, I just read the Bible in chunks. And after that, I was going to move on and read other major holy texts like the Quran and stuff. But honestly, the Bible just kind of took it out of me. It's a very boring and not great to read book. So I was like, I just didn't feel like reading past that. But to answer your question, I've read the entire Bible. I have not read the Quran or the Book of Mormon. On the topic of religion, this one wasn't on the YouTube post where I asked for questions about this, but I've seen a couple of comments on videos asking me about this lately, so I figure I may as well answer it now. I see you're wearing the Mjolnir necklace now. If I may ask, have you been continuing your exploration of polytheism? Are you a heathen now? Yes to the first part. I don't call myself a heathen. That's just not a term I prefer to use. I just go with pagan because, like, I started off with Celtic paganism and then I just decided for a couple of reasons to move into Norse paganism as well. Because, and I did do a video on this on my second channel a while ago. I kind of regret making that just because my views have changed a bit since then. Now, I'll just say up front, like, the gods are probably not real. Like, almost 100% certain, like, they're not real. I will say Polytheism does make a bit more sense than monotheism because you don't have to deal with the problem of evil, but it's still probably not real. That said, if pagan gods are real, then they're much more worthy of respect and reverence and worship than the Abrahamic God, who is just an asshole all the time. I figure Luglam Fada or Odin or Thor or the rest of them can, even if they're not real, because again, I want to emphasize, they're probably fucking not. I'm still an atheist. I guess whether you want to call me a pagan or an atheist depends on whichever one annoys you more specifically. But even if the gods aren't real, they can at least serve as inspiration for the sort of person that I want to be. So that works. As for why I switched over to wearing this Mjolnir pendant instead of the Triquetra I was wearing before, this is a more recognizable symbol than a Triquetra, and also the pendant I had did kind of shine really brightly when I was trying to film stuff, like lights would shine off it, or if I was on stage or something, it would shine off of it. And so this doesn't do that, and also it's just more recognizable as a symbol. Like, again, if it's a Triquetra, people just see that and think, oh, it's kind of cool looking. Whereas this, if people know about heathenry and paganism, then they probably know what this means and they have a better idea of what I'm about. So I figure, may as well be clear about my intentions here. And the reason a lot of pagans wear it is not just as a symbol of their allegiance and a symbol of their faith, but also because it's a symbol of Thor. Like, it's Mjolnir, it's his hammer. It's an artistic abstraction of what it looks like. And Thor is a guardian, he's a protector god. So by wearing it, it's supposed to be a reminder to protect not just yourself, but also others. And I kind of look at it the same way that Sikhs will usually wear knives. Like, religiously, Sikhs have to wear a knife with them at all times. I'm simplifying here a bit, but they have to wear a knife with them at all times, and back in the day, that was so that they could actually use it in battle at any moment. But in the modern day, most of the time, their knives are not sharp, and they're actually, like, tied into their sheath, so they can't even take it out. So it's more symbolic. It's, again, just a representation of how they need to be willing to jump in to the defense of others if they're called upon. And that's just how I view this. It's symbolic. Tell us something about yourself that no one has thought to ask. Last year I got really bored and started doing stand-up comedy, and I'm not very good at it, and I keep meaning to get some footage so I can post it on the second channel, but it just hasn't happened. But, I've just been doing that around town a couple of times. Like, it's fun. Like, I'm not hoping to make a career out of it or anything, I'm just doing it for fun. What usually occurs to make a 4-star read into a 5-star, like a character moment or a reveal? Or alternatively, what nosedives a book to 1 star? So, in these situations, whether we're talking 1 star or 5 stars, it's never one thing. It's how they all come together, or in some cases, how they don't all come together. For example, last year I read Silver Elite. You can go watch my video on it if you haven't. And Silver Elite has a really, really, really dumb protagonist. Like, quite possibly the dumbest I've ever read in any book. But she's treated like she's smart the whole time. And also the plot setup is just absolute fucking nonsense. Like, nothing about it makes sense. It's just there because the author decided they had to have a school story for the book to happen. And I don't know. It's hard to explain without going into a lot of detail, which I just don't want to do here. But just nothing fits together is basically what I'm trying to say. And so that's why that collapses down to a 1 star. But when books have like a bunch of good stuff, it's more the way that they all fit together properly and they all synchronize with each other that takes it from a 4-star to a 5-star. What is the most important part of the book to you? Like, is it the character writing, world building, writing style, story, or something else? Well, again, like I said in the last question, it's about how it all comes together. I think mediocre characters can work if they serve the plot. And at the same time, mediocre world building can serve interesting themes and messaging. So, like, even if viewed in a vacuum, an aspect of a book is bad, it can still work pretty well if it's supposed to fit with the other stuff in a specific way. Is there any book that you would like to experience for the first time again? So my first thought would be the Demonata, because that's just my favorite book series of all time. But at the same time, I don't think I would like that book series as much if I read it for the first time today. Like, I think I've just grown up a little bit too much, and it just wouldn't strike the same chord with me that it did back when I was a teenager. So if I could read any book series for the first time again, it would have to be Elixir by Hilary Duff, because those books are terrible, but they're also insane in the best possible way. Like, there's a reason that that was the first book I ever read where I did a really long, in-depth review where I really went over a summary of all the events and explained exactly how and why they don't make sense and why I still do that to this day. Like, that book is special. It's a special type of bad, and I just want to read it and laugh at it again. Do you think more books should get adapted into video games? I mean, I guess that's fine in principle. Like, because even if they're bad, like, the books are still there. But the only one of these I know of that was really successful is The Witcher. And I think that if they're going to do more of these, they should do more stuff like the Witcher games. Because, granted, I've never read the books or played the games, so if I get something wrong here, let me know. But from what I understand, the story of the games actually takes place after the books, so it's really like a spin-off or fan fiction if you want to be a little less charitable towards it. But by having it be a spin-off, they can do a lot of different and unique stuff with it that they couldn't really do if they were just straight up trying to adapt the books into a video game format. And similarly, at some point in the future, I hope it comes soon, The Expanse, Osiris Reborn is going to come out. And I don't know if that game is any good yet because it's not out yet, but it does look like a lot of fun. And basically what I'm saying is I think that more books can get adapted into video games, but I think they are better off just using spin-offs to explore other parts of the world in books that just didn't have time to explore certain parts of their world. Or it could happen in like the distant past or the far future or something. Like, I mean, they did make a Wheel of Time video game many years ago, and that's like a side story that has nothing to do with the actual events of the books, and that one is apparently a fun game. I only played a little bit of it several years ago, but it's apparently a fun game, and I feel like they have potential to do more stuff in that world as well. I started rambling a bit there, but like, yeah, I think more books can be adapted into video games, so yes. Do you ever struggle with burnout after reading a really bad book? How do you deal with it? So, I don't usually have burnout after reading just one really bad book or one bad book series, but reading several in a row can really start to wear on me, and it can really start to drain my energy, especially because a lot of times nowadays, they're often bad in the exact same ways over and over and over again. Like, this is why I rail about romantasy and other TikTok trash so much, is because it's just so bad, yes, but it's all exactly the same as well. Like, that's what gets draining for me. And to get back on track, I usually read something that I actually want to, and I'm not just doing it for this channel. Like, I'll read some pulpy military science fiction book that I've been eyeing for a bit, or there'll be something that I remember hearing about as a kid, but I never got around to, and I'll read something like that, you know? Like, even if it's not something I'm excited for, if it's at least different, then that can help a lot. And I will say that if books are bad in a funny way, or an amusing way, then that tends to not drain me at all, really. What do you do when you need to just relax and turn your brain off? I will let you know when I find something. Sleeping usually helps, but beyond that I can't say. Will you ever dive into the world of web novels? I mean, I kind of already have. Like, a while ago I read Vigor Mortis. Those books were terrible, but they started as web novels. I mean, I read The Nature of Predators as well, which was okay, I guess. But those were also like requests that people sent in. I wouldn't have found those on my own. That said, I doubt I'm going to do a whole lot more with web novels because they are extremely fucking long and they take a long time and a lot of energy to get through. They're also really clunky and amateurish and bad. And it's a lot more fun to mock books that are bad when I know that they were traditionally published, because that's how you know multiple people looked at this and then signed off on it and said, yep, this is good. Like, editors and publishers and shit looked at that and said, yes, this is good, let's do that. Like, that makes it substantially funnier to me. I know you're very good at roasting terrible YA dystopia fictions, so is there any good dystopian fiction that you recommend? Moreover, what is some advice for people who actually want to write a good and convincing dystopian story? The Hunger Games is pretty good. And the reason that's pretty good is because it focuses on actual problems in the real world that the author noticed. So, like, if you're trying to write a dystopia, you're writing about an actual problem that you found in the world. And if you're not doing that, then you're just following a formula somebody else set out for you. And I don't know how to help you if you're just doing that. How long do you think the oversaturation of tropes / book talkification of modern literature will last? Do you think authors needing to appeal to tropes in marketing will change the medium forever? Well, it already kind of has. You know, at this point, publishers are really only paying their bills by appealing to people who demand very, very specific stuff. Like, this is what I was saying earlier. These books are all kind of exactly the same, and they don't even bother trying to hide it anymore, which once upon a time they did. And those people are, in many cases, keeping publishers afloat. So I feel like, at least for the foreseeable future, this is just how it's going to be. A book you would never want to see adapted as a movie. Basically any romantasy slop. I would not want to see that shit on the screen, but especially not ACOTAR or Throne of Glass, or ACOTAR is A Court of Thorns and Roses. Partially because they straight up don't deserve the reward. Like, they do not deserve to get their names put out there, and they don't deserve even more money flowing to the author. But also because it would cause studios and stuff to think, oh, we can make money doing that, and then they would make even more copycats and even worse ripoffs. Like, say what you will about the Twilight movies, but the love for those was at least, I guess, organic is one way of putting it. I don't mean to insinuate that Romantasy and Throne of Glass and stuff are like being artificially propped up. That's not what I mean here. But with Twilight, at least, that was before social media was really a thing. So the books just genuinely found a big audience, and they found a really passionate audience, and then people turned them into movies. And the movies, while yes, they were made with the intention of making money, they were also really, really funny, and they were just kind of a new thing that most people weren't super familiar with. Whereas at this point, if a romantasy movie gets made, like an adaptation of some of those books gets made, then people are just going to go, oh, this is like Twilight, except it takes itself way too seriously, and it's much more X-rated. And I don't know, I feel like that's going to drag down not just books, but cinema as well. I don't know if I explained my thought process there very well, but like, just, I really don't want any of that shit to get adapted. You know, if it's books that I actually like get adapted and the adaptation isn't very good, then, well, that sucks, but at least the books are still there. But I don't want books I hate getting adapted, okay? I just don't want that happening. Is there a book you would really want to see as a movie that hasn't been adapted yet? First thought that comes to mind is The Lost Regiment. Yeah, those books are fucking awesome, and I found out, I didn't know this when I made my video on them, but like years ago, Tom Cruise actually did buy the film rights to those books, and he tried working on them for a couple of years, but for whatever reason, he just wasn't able to make it work, so they shelved the project, and that was like 20 years ago, and no one has picked it up since, and I want those books to be made into movies. Like, Tom Cruise 20 years ago, I imagine he wanted to play Colonel Andrew Keane, who is the protagonist of those books. I think he would do a great job there. But I do just want to see some of the battles and stuff on this big screen, because those books are great. They're my favorite series I've read in a long time. But other than that, I would say Orconomics as well, because Orconomics manages to hit a sweet spot where it is a great fantasy adventure story, but it's also a very fun comedy, and it pokes a lot of fun at itself and at its genre. So I feel like a lot of people could get into that. Thoughts about the Cosmere being adapted? It is way too early to say much of anything, because like all we know at this point is that it exists. Like, the adaptations of Mistborn and the Stormlight Archive are moving forward, but we don't know a whole lot beyond that. I'm excited to see it. At the same time, I am a bit worried because Brandon Sanderson's work has been going downhill for a while now. Like, his recent books have not been nearly as good as the stuff he was putting out 10 years ago. And he also has full creative control over the adaptations. Like, he has veto power over everything that the people who are, more experienced in film and television will be telling him. And so that might cause issues. I don't know. Like, we'll have to wait and see for certain, but that is the first thing I'm thinking of that could cause problems and could make these adaptations be not good. What would you say is the best and worst thing about living in Colorado? I think the best part about living here is that most people are happy to just let you do your own thing. Like, sure, some people get kind of nosy, but those are like churchy types who they're like that no matter where you go. Whereas in Colorado, like, there's a reason we were the first state to make recreational marijuana legal. Like, most people don't really care as long as you're not bothering anybody else. Like, and gay marriage became federally legal back in 2015, but even before that, we were slowly making our way towards maybe legalizing that in the state. Because again, most people are fine as long as you're not hurting anybody else. Like, we're happy to leave each other alone. And I think that's a very nice part about living here. The worst part about living here, I would say, is that the urban planning and infrastructure is basically non-existent, which means all of our cities are basically just giant parking lots filled with suburban McMansions, and there's no smaller, like, starter homes for people to buy when they're, just by themselves, or just a couple and they don't have kids or anything and they just want a smaller home. They don't need a 4-bedroom, 5-bathroom with a finished basement and everything. Like, we don't have a lot of those. And because of the infrastructure, I mean, again, what infrastructure? It's basically just roads. You have to have a car to go anywhere. Like, it's very difficult to walk anywhere. There's very little public transportation. And I know it's like that in a lot of the rest of the country too, but it is bad here, is all I'm saying. And so because of that, everything is getting really expensive. The cost of living has gone up substantially. And that sucks because when I was a kid, living in Colorado was actually pretty cheap. And I don't begrudge anybody else for moving here from somewhere else. Like, that's fine. But like, it used to be that unless you lived in Denver or Boulder, it was pretty cheap to live here, and that's just not the case anymore. So that is probably the worst part. What's a book/series that you really like that you think is underrated or unknown? Again, The Lost Regiment. Not a whole lot of people know about those books. I have hyped them up enough. They're genuinely fantastic. And I try to bring attention to other books that I like that I think more people should know about that are underrated or underappreciated, but the videos on those tend to just not get very many views. So stuff like my video on A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court or The Descent, I mean, those are fantastic books, but they just don't get a lot of attention. Why is everything just wish fulfillment now, and why are people's wishes so terrible? I think the second half of your question kind of answers the first half. But it's too easy with the internet nowadays to find something that fits very, very specific criteria. Like, you used to have to go to fanfiction websites and stuff and enter like 18 different tags if you wanted a story that hit all of those exact niches that you needed them to hit. But nowadays, everything is kind of like that, and fewer people ever want to be uncomfortable with something they read or something they watch or something they play. Like, it's not unique to this generation or anything, but it is still getting obnoxious and irritating that people will, say, look at a book or a movie or something where the villain will do something bad, and then they'll just be so how do I put this? Like, they'll be so chomping at the bit to get self-righteous and angry about something that they will assume that means the creator of the thing they're watching is endorsing the behavior of the villain. Like, that sort of thing happens a lot which is just really irritating, and I think that is a contributing factor to why everything is just wish fulfillment nowadays, because no one ever wants to have characters who are like actual characters with complexities to them or anything like that. You've talked about and displayed in one video your involvement with HEMA sports. Is the longsword your favorite sporting weapon? Are there any others you'd like to learn? And are there any non-HEMA weapons you wish they'd allow in tournaments? Man. So I've actually been very out of practice with HEMA for quite a while now. Like, I just have not had time or energy to do it for over a year at this point, and I'm disappointed with myself for not doing that, but that is how it is for now. That said, the longsword is still my favorite overall. Like, I just like it. With the Demonata TV series coming out in the near future, who would you cast as Dervish? When I read the books, I pictured him as Alec Guinness. I hope you mean young or middle-aged Alec Guinness and not how he looked in the Star Wars movies, because that doesn't seem very fitting to me. That said, this did make me start thinking a little bit about who would I want to play Dervish, and I guess Liam Cunningham might work, but also he might just be a little too old for this. So after thinking it over a little bit, I unironically want Jamie Dornan to do it. Partially just because it would be really, really funny to have Christian Grey be in the Demonata series, but also because Dervish is a very friendly and funny and intelligent guy, but he also just has this certain hard callousness to him, and in fact that's the main thing that causes difficulty in his relationship with Grubbs throughout the books, is that, yeah, he's doing what he does for the greater good, but sometimes the greater good means, like, sacrificing people and stuff. So, while, yeah, he's not a bad guy or anything, there is a callousness to him. And I think if you look at some of Jamie Dornan's roles, I think he could pull this off. Like, if you see him in, I guess The Siege of Jadotville is a good example of this. Like, in that movie, he is charismatic, and you can tell he cares about the soldiers under his command and everything, but at the same time, he's a hard, badass dude who is willing to make difficult decisions. So, I think that he could pull off Dervish pretty well. In all this time, what is the best bad young adult book you've covered on the channel? I would have to say either Elixir or Save the Pearls. If by the best bad book you mean the one that is bad, but it's also very entertaining. Like, those two are kind of what I think of when I think of books that are so bad they're funny. Because both of them are just absolutely terrible on every level. Like, you look at it on a surface level, it's terrible. If you take time to actually stop and think about a lot of the things they're saying, they make even less sense and they're even more terrible. But they're also just so fucking batshit insane that you have to laugh at them. Have you read Sunrise on the Reaping, and if so, what did you think about it / will you make a video on it? A lot of people were asking me questions just, have you read this book? Have you read this book? Like, guys, check my channel. Like, did you even try searching before you asked that question? Jesus fucking fuck. It's annoying that you don't even try to look for the information before coming up to me and demanding I give it to you. But, that said, I will answer this one, because I actually haven't read Sunrise on the Reaping, and it's kind of weird that I haven't, but I just wasn't interested in it. You know, like, we don't need another Hunger Games spin-off. Like, I was kind of against A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes when that came out, but it wound up being pretty good. Sunrise on the Reaping is just retelling a story that we already know from the books in more detail, and I don't know, I also just didn't really have time to get to it, so maybe I'll read it at some point before the movie comes out, but as it stands right now, I'm just not that interested. What is a niche trope that you despise and thankfully don't see very often? So this one is actually pretty easy to answer. I despise when there is a woman character who is supposed to be super witty and cool and everyone loves her, but she's just annoying. And a good example of this, probably the best example of this, is Shallan from the Stormlight Archive. Like, in the first book, she was a good character, but then in the second books onward, they tried to really tell us so much that, look, she's really witty and really funny and super smart and everybody loves her and she's so much better than everybody else. And it's like, okay, but I don't like her very much. Like, it's very obvious when authors are just, like, in love with a specific character. And granted, this does happen with men too, but it's much, much more common with women characters. I don't know why, but I don't know. This is just, it annoys me. I don't like it. Are you in any way Scottish, or is it just the last name? Well, I mean, I have the last name because I'm descended from people who are from Scotland, but I'm also descended from people who are from other place, so it's kind of odd to refer to myself as Scottish or Irish or German or Japanese or anything like that, because I don't know, you look at the history of humanity and various ethnic groups and nationalities, like a lot of new ones are created when people mix together like that. But I mean, yes, I am of partially Scottish descent, but I don't really call myself Scottish. Like, if anything, if we're going by like percentages of my ancestry, I'm much more Irish than I am Scottish. So, and I mean, a bunch of my family are Irish Catholics as well. So, like, I feel like I have more connection to that, but at the same time, that's not a whole lot. So, I don't know. It's just an odd question when you really stop and think about it. Like, I'm white. My nationality is American. Beyond that, I don't really care that much. Hello there, Editor James is popping in real quick because while I was putting this video together, I just remembered something kind of funny that ties into this. So, my grandfather, my mom's dad, I'm not gonna give away his last name for privacy reasons, but it's like very obviously an Irish name, and my mom has always just said that we're Irish, and my mom was raised in a Catholic family, so I just kind of assumed that we are, you know, descended from Irish Catholics. But I found out a while ago that my grandfather was actually raised in a Protestant Irish family. And my mom was just raised Catholic because by the time he was an adult, he didn't really care about religion that much. So it was mostly my mom's stepmother that raised them as Catholic. And when I heard that, I looked at my mom and I was like, wait, Mom, are we Irish Protestants? Are we Ulster Irish? And she just looked at me and said, well, I think so, but that's pretty much the same thing, right? Like, Mother, I wouldn't tell them that. Now, this doesn't really change anything for me, It doesn't change, like, any of my beliefs or how I view myself or anything like that. It's just kind of funny, and I do think it serves as a good example of how this sort of thing doesn't really matter that much. You know, give it some time and some distance, then the divisions that people put between themselves seem to just blur, I guess is what you would say. And granted, new divisions often pop up, but I don't know. I think that is an important anecdote to tell people. If you were stranded on an island and the only book series you could have is one of the ones you reviewed on this channel, which one would you hold on to and why? I would hold on to The Way of the Shadow Wolves by Steven Seagal because that would make decent Tinder. Do you have any advice for aspiring authors on what they should prioritize in order to write an effective book instead of a mediocre TikTok sensation or something that never gets discovered? It's a very simple answer to that question, actually. You should write something that you want to read. Don't stop and wonder if this will have a big audience or any audience at all. Just write something that you want to read. What works of classic literature do you hate and why? Which unpopular works do you think are actually good and why? I think good classic literature that I've read would be stuff like Frankenstein or War of the Worlds or basically anything by Mark Twain. Like, I mean, I mentioned A Connecticut Yankee and King Arthur's Court earlier, but also like The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn and The Prince and the Pauper. Like, Mark Twain was a very good writer. As for bad classic literature, I would say Brave New World and Fahrenheit 451. Like, those are both weird and overly simplistic, and you can tell that the authors really thought they were saying something super deep and meaningful about society, but I just don't think they were. And I don't know, they're not good books. Do you have a favorite video of yours? I want to say my video on Baldur's Gate 3, because fuck you. Like, I stand by everything I said in that video. That's not a very good game, and I hate it. But also, I kind of want to say my video where I explain that The Hunger Games is not a ripoff of Battle Royale, and I know I'm right about that one because all of the people who disagree with me on that just ignored what I said in that video. Like, I think the majority of comments that disagree with me there are people who just read the title and then commented based on that and didn't actually listen to anything I said, because they don't address any of the points I make. So, I'm proud of that one, because I'm refuting something that a lot of people have said over the years, and I guess I'm correct about it. That said, I think my favorite video I've made is probably my very brief summary of Red Queen. Like, overall, I would say, yeah, I think that's my favorite one I've made, because the jokes, for the most part, land, and I think I've made some really funny ones there. I make some very good points about the book itself and the quality of it, and it also got a lot of views and attention, and so it gave me a new format that I get to play with sometimes. Like, now I do very brief summaries every couple of months, and I have fun doing that. Last question. Have I written a book? Yeah, I've written several of them. Like, unfortunately, last year, 2025, I got almost no writing or editing done. Like, I got a little bit done, because I did finish a draft of my work in progress in 2024, and I did a round of sending it out to beta readers, and I got some feedback, and based on that feedback, I'm trying to change things, but I got almost nothing done last year for various reasons I don't want to get into right now. And hopefully sometime soon I can finish up the draft I'm working on right now, and then I can do another round of beta edits, and then I can send it off to agents. Because I did send it, it's called Prince of Night. I did send it off to a couple of agents, but they either didn't get back to me or they just said no thanks. And I'm going to try and send it off again, and if I don't have any luck with that, I'll probably start looking into self-publishing. Like, I don't want to self-publish because I feel like that has negative connotations to it, even in the modern day where it's a bit more accepted. But at the same time, like, I do have a built-in audience and everything, so after a certain point, you just got to take the leap and be like, all right, well, you know what? If publishers don't want it, then I'll just do it myself. And part of the reason I'm writing it is because it is a young adult novel that's aimed more at boys than at girls, and I just feel like there aren't very many of those that are being written nowadays. And, you know, just teenage boys deserve to have something like that for them, because if books like that didn't exist when I was younger, I would never have gotten into reading in the first place, and, like, my life would be duller because of that. So, like, the point I'm getting at is I do want to get a book out there. I'm not going to promise anything because I've already promised stuff before that I wasn't able to deliver on, and I don't want to do that again, but I just want to get it out there, you know? Like, I want to try and maybe possibly get it out by the end of the year, but I'm not making any promises. So that's it for this Q&A session. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you for getting me to 150,000 subscribers. If you are not one of those subscribers, for starters, why are you watching this? But also, hit that button right now. Also, like the video and comment on it. And that's about all I have to say for now. I assume if you're watching this, you're already supporting me in some other way, but if not, check out my Patreon and stuff, and have a lovely day. Goodbye. Aloha! Thank you to everybody who watched this far. Especially a big thanks to my patrons, including my $10 and up patrons, who are 3Cat Day, Arthur D. Gonzalez Martin, Brother Santotis, Carolina Clay, Chaotic Entity 1, Chris Goldap, Lexi DeLorme, Lord Tiebreaker, Michael and Katie Hake, Mr. A5013, Proscriptions of Zhuojang, Psych XS, Toa Michael, Tomioka, Vevictus, and Wesley. Them, along with all the other names here, I couldn't do it without you guys. Thank you so much. It really does mean the world to me. If you want to get your name on here and also get early access to videos and exclusive content that you can't find anywhere else, consider donating to my Patreon page. If you don't feel like donating over on Patreon, you can also become a YouTube channel member. Did you know I'm on Cameo? You can get a shout out from me over there. You can check out my merch store. If you don't feel like doing any of that, then simply rating the video and commenting on the video, and subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. That works too. I appreciate all of you. Aloha. That means goodbye as well.